The year of 2021 has been quite interesting in terms of equipment releases. Pedals are no exception. If you are looking for a set of cheap pedals, the CSL should be one to consider, especially because of the very low price point. Though it's not a set without shortcomings, so stick around to learn more. The necessary disclaimer: the Fanatec CSL was sent by a Fanatec for review, and I have an affiliate link below if you want to help out the channel. All the thoughts are my own, I'm not being paid to say anything, but anyways, you should take this review with a grain of salt. The CSL comes as a refresh of the CSL Elite pedals. The Elites were a great set of pedals, especially when bought with the load cell. A great entry pedal set with good construction, a trusty load cell, but suffering a bit from reliability on the potentiometer side. This refresh of the CSL comes with a few surprises. The design is totally changed. This time, instead of using a whole aluminum construction like the Elites, they are using what it seems to be stamped metal construction. This simplifies the design, the cost of materials, bringing the price lower than before. Starting at €80, this has the potential to be an amazing deal for a set of starting pedals. That's about 20 cheaper than the outgoing model. And with that, it doesn't give you less features, at least when compared like to like. There's an optional clutch set for 40, bringing the price to 120, which isn't all bad. But there is a catch: the CSL doesn't have any load cell as of this moment in sale. There is one being developed. I saw one in Sim Racing Expo, but it wasn't in any sim rig to try it out. The lack of a load cell availability will change your options quite a lot. While you're there, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. The greatest improvement of this set is the addition of the Hall sensors that will resolve the potentiometer failure of the previous version. There's an extra pedal face choice made out of metal and plastic, but just like the load cell, it's still not available for purchase. And like the load cell, there's no indication of prices. As all the pedals are Hall sensor but not load cell, the resolution of these will be 12 bits, exactly the same as the old potentiometers from the Elites. The metal construction is definitely different. The ease of assembly is front and center in this set. It will take you around 5 to 10 minutes to assemble. It's easier than before, though I have to mention that I had an issue with one of the screw holes that was threaded in the set that I was sent. Assembling the pedals to a wheel stand or to a rig is quite simple. There are holes in the pedals at the back and then 2 at the front. Make sure you use the cylinders. Those will help the stability at the front of the set. The set can also be used on the floor as there are some rubber feet at the bottom. As the load cell is not yet released, the main way to connect the pedals is through an RJ connection to the wheelbase that will be then connected to the PC or to the PlayStation or Xbox if your wheelbase is supporting those. The other optional way, which will be a PC exclusive, is to buy the RJ to USB conversion connector separately. Let's talk about usability, which is essentially the reason we are here today. Using the set is a pretty straightforward experience for pedals of this type. It is quite accurate at 12-bit resolution, and the brake for a non-load cell is quite accurate and it's easy enough to use. The levels of resistance from all the pedals might be a little bit too low for some, but they are within what is normal for pedals of this range. Though some might want a stronger rubber for the brake pedal, and I am one of those people. It's easy enough to get to understand where the brakes will start to bite, as you can do well threshold braking. Of course, without the load cell, some muscle memory will be required, and if you are used to these types of pedals, it should be straightforward enough to learn it. The foam for this generation of pedals has a hole in the middle that reduces some of the pressure that you could put into it without collapsing. That might be, or not, good for you of course, but being quite honest, I prefer the old foam as it had a little more resistance. And just like the outgoing Elites, the resistance from the spring with the resistance of the foam works quite well. The throttle's pressure is more on the soft side and the optional clutch on the heavier side. I've seen some changing the throttle with the clutch, but if something goes wrong, your warranty might be out of the window because the length of the cables aren't really the same. All of these pressures were probably tuned to make the pedal more usable in the floor. This is totally understandable. The issue for me arises with the lack of tunability of the spring values and the lack of an optional stiffer rubber. All the pedals use torsion springs that are hard to swap if they are able at all, so any attempt to change spring rates won't really work. There isn't another foam in a box, so you will be stuck with this one until you get a load cell. With the current options you have for the CSL without having a choice of spring or foams, it contrasts directly against the competition of this set. The old T3PA pedals have the excellent conical brake mod that can be installed, and the T3PM comes with the optional spring and Hall effect sensors too. Now let's talk a bit about pedal faces and ergonomics. The ergonomics are really good with these pedal faces, no matter the version of pedals faces that you choose or are used. The aluminum faces aren't available yet, so you won't be losing much at this point. Personally, I prefer the aluminum ones because they are similar to the V3s that I use. I don't use the D shapes on the V3s. With the options available, the CSL seems to have a tough competition, much more so than when the CSL Elite was available. It is basically the same price as the competition with the clutch, so recommendation of this set over the other ones are difficult because of the brake pedal, even if the CSL has a better build overall than the competition. So I would say, as of this moment, the CSL is only a better option than any of the competition if you are on one of these use cases. If you're just looking for a 2-pedal set and you need something really cheap, the CSLs cost only 80 euros, so that's a great use case for them. If you are waiting for the load cell and you don't care about the optional clutch because you're gonna use the brake as a clutch afterwards, that will be great as well, but you'll need to wait for the load cell. Or if you want to use these pedals to connect to the wheelbase so you can play games on the Xbox or on PlayStation. If you are not in any of these circumstances, I would recommend that you would look to the competition, namely the Trustmaster T3PMs or the T3PAs, though the last ones have a bit of reliability issues. I say this because the most important piece of equipment on your sim rig is how good your brake pedal is. In the case of this CSL, it is okay, but you cannot customize it. It comes with this foam, and that's basically it. On the other pedal sets, you can either use the conical brake mod, in the case of the T3PA, which is amazing. I tried it in a review for the T150. I was hugely impressed. In the case of the T3PMs, you can change the spring rates, or maybe you can even find other springs that would be better suited for you. In any case, comparing apples to apples, these two pedal sets, the Trustmaster competition will just go over the CSLs in terms of braking. The entry-level pedal market is heating up a lot, and it's going to heat up even more when the load cell comes. This is a great set. It's not perfect, but if the old CSL Elite will tell me something about the load cell, and if it's something very close in the CSL on the new ones, I think these pedals should be in one of your top considerations.